score 40-36. While Judge Barbara Perez has it 39-37. All for the winner by unanimous decision, the crown jewel.
You know it's AB, always balling, always boarding, a lot of bills. You know what's going on, man. You know, shout out to Crown Jewels Boxing, man. You know, my people. You know, they get it in over there, straight up.
Lamar Peterson giving a shout out to CrownJewelBoxing.com.
What's good, YouTube? Crown Jewel from Crown Jewel Boxing. Back at y'all to drop a gem. Big news, unfortunately, being reported in the welterweight division in the wake of the Terrance Crawford, David Haney fight Saturday night. It's been reported by a boxing media outlet, I won't name which one, that the pay-per-view buys from Terrance Crawford, David Haney were around 15,000 buys. That puts Terrance Crawford in a horrible negotiations position with regards to Errol Spence, if that's the fight they're going to explore next. I already felt like he was in a bad negotiation spot from the beginning. And, you know, I think it was evidence when he said he was willing to accept pretty much anything they were offering, whatever terms they were offering in order to get the fight done. I call cap because the fight still didn't get done. Now, if he wants to say that's because of the timing, they wanted to make the fight, he didn't want to beat off that long, cool. Now you've had a fight. Now he's saying they should be able to go back into negotiations. What is there to negotiate? You said you agreed to all his terms prior to fighting David Haney. Why can't you keep your word and fight to those terms? Especially since your stance is weakened after fighting David Haney. How's his stance weakened after fighting David Haney? His stance is weakened because he had a live attendance of a reported 30,000 people. Again, he sold 15,000 pay-per-view buys at $60 a pop. Now, in contrast, Errol Spence is fighting in Cowboy Stadium in front of over 50,000 people. And he's selling in excess of 150,000 pay-per-view buys at $99.95 a piece, generating way more money, 10 times as much pay-per-view buys at $30 more a pop than Terrance Crawford. So again, if you're just looking at business, you take your feelings out of it. Terrance Crawford is a terrific fighter, top 2 in the world pound for pound. I agree. But if you just look at numbers, it's not even close. Errol Spence is the bigger star and should get the lion's share of the purse. It just is what it is. The numbers have been placed out there in front of you. The proof is in the pudding. Also, Devin Haney took to Twitter and staged some concerns or complaints that he has with his promoter, Top Rank. He says that he relayed to them directly that he'd like to have the fight between himself and Vasiliylomachenko take place prior to Ramadan. It's well known, he's made it known that himself and his father Bill Haney have converted to Islam. So he wanted to get the fight done prior to the holy month of Ramadan, where he naturally would be weaker because he would be fasting. So he said he wanted the fight done by March. And he, relayed that to them. He said now they're talking about May, which puts him further out. He also said they know he's having trouble making 135. And the further away the fight is, the more time that passes, that becomes even tougher and tougher for him because he's naturally outgrown the 135-pound weight class. What I say to Devin Haney is, you're right. For all intents and purposes, they probably are trying to stack the deck for Vasiliylomachenko. It's called business. They have him under long-term contract. you signed a 3-fight deal. I know from my experience, fighters that, I was formerly in a stable with that have signed those 3-fight deals with major promoters, it usually spells disaster. Because if you're able to win the initial fight of the 3-fight deal, they know they only have you for 2 additional fights. If you win a belt or, get yourself into a good position after the first win, it only makes promotional sense for them to try to get you knocked off. Why? Their onus is to the fighters that they have signed to long-term deals. They're not trying to have you come, upset their fighters, upset their chances of making big money on those fighters, take the belts and run off into the sunset. They want to do everything they can to make sure their fighters maintain those titles and they maintain control of those respective divisions. So with that being said, do I feel that's happening to Devin Haney? It probably is. But I'm sorry, I can't feel bad for him because he made the deal. You went and made a 3-fight deal. And I think in you and your father's inexperience and in being naive, or just maybe you thought that you were that good that it didn't matter, that you can go against all the odds in a promotional company not acting in your best interest, because I don't see how, again, you think they would act in your best interest over a fighter that they have committed to a long-term contract already. Bob Arum has been clear. He wants the winner of this fight to fight Shakur-Stevenson. Well, he has no control over that if you're no longer signed to his promotional company. So, in order for him to carry out what he wanted to do within the division, he needs Vasiliylomachenko to win, because he has both Vasiliylomachenko and Shakur-Stevenson signed to long-term contracts. So it's only right, I won't say it's only right, but it only makes perfect business sense that he's going to try to dictate the terms to see to it that his guy is successful in that bout, so that he has the mega fight between Lomachenko and Shakur. And no matter who wins that fight, he still has complete control of all the titles in the lightweight division. It's business. Sometimes we make our beds and we have to lay in them. This was the deal you made, Devin Haney. You're in the last fight of your deal. Now, I think you're going about it the right way. Going to social media, hoping you can get the public to press them into making the fight sooner, or exposing them so that the public has ill will towards them for the way they're doing you. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work. Bob Arum's been in the game over 50 years. He doesn't care about you being uncomfortable. I very highly doubt that he cares about you being unhappy with him stringing you along, stalling the fight, and having it later on to where it would be to your disadvantage. He's a shrewd businessman. He's going to do business that he thinks is going to benefit himself and his company, Top Rank Boxing. What benefits him? Keeping the titles with his fighters. Sometimes you got to think a little past 1 or 2 fights, because boxing, as a lot of y'all know, is a lot more than just what happens in the ring. There's a lot of business to get done outside the ring. And if you don't have your business right, eventually it can get to a point like this where it affects how you're able to perform in the ring. So let that be a lesson to a lot of you guys out here. Stay away from them 3-fight deals with these major promoters. They're not going to work to your benefit unless you sign a multi-fight extension in the middle of that 3-fight deal. That 3rd fight, maybe even the 2nd fight, they're going to be looking to get you knocked off. Why? Because it's not to their benefit for you to come through, knock off their fighter, and ride off into the sunset. The only company I've seen made that mistake was Golden Boy, when they gave all their fighters to Floyd. And it backfired, because once Floyd beat all their fighters, he became his own promoter. And him and Al Heyman went to Showtime and left Golden Boy high and dry. So these companies, they're hedging their bets, man. They're not going to let you just come in and knock their fighters off and leave. They're going to do everything that they can to make sure they maintain control. So again, You guys got to be able to look into the future, have some foresight into the future, and protect yourselves long term. Don't just go after that short-term glory or quick buck. You got to think about, I know you said you think about legacy. You also have to think about longevity. Until next time, keep your hands up, your chin down, your ass off the floor. Peace.